doing hacking at 100 megapixel. Nothing says awesome like 100K pixels by 100K pixels. The global goal is clearly achieved. We can certainly separate a file out into individual subchunks. Can we figure out what's going on based on what those subchunks look like? Well, we know from the paper that I showed you earlier, there's all these various shapes that do show up in real data when you're looking at words. This is what the game was doing originally. You can find palindromatic sections, so you can find like, this same thing as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, and then I, H, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And then it shows up as a big X. Not much in there that describes this level of patterns. I don't know what the hell's going on here. But that's very interesting. It's very nice to have a tool that is showing you more complexity than you were prepared to parse. And all I can say is, this confused the heck out of me, but it confuses the heck out of me in a far different way than a random hex dump does. All hex dumps look the same to me. I'm not built to look at hex. But I can tell you, this is not this, is not this. And in fact, I can tell you that this is from a font file format. And if I look at anything that looks like this, I will be able to say, that's a font, because it has that font effect going on. So that's actually kind of cool. There's a lot more research to do. But this out. As a lark, I figured, originally we're taking the same file and comparing it against itself. What if we took a file and compared it to an older version of itself? Well, now things aren't identical, but they're not actually different either. There's a lot of similarities. So before, because the first block is always the same as the first block, the second block is always the same as the second block, you'd always have this hard diagonal line. Now, because it's different versions, it still shows up, but it moves around, it changes angle. Basically, you can visually trace out where things get inserted and where things get deleted based on where that previously solid line shows up. It works. I don't know if it should work, but it totally does. That's kind of fun. And yeah, this is like the MS Visual Studio Visual C runtime from 7.0 to 7.1. Mostly the same. I think there's some new code right there because there's a big old gap. New stuff. Well, color. Color's always good. Color's pretty pictures. Pretty pictures are kind of the goal. It turns out there's a library out there called Symmetrics, and Symmetrics lets us go ahead and use all these various standards, a lot of them from the bioinformatics world, to get similarities. If you take one and put it in the red channel, another in the green channel, another in the blue channel, the standards will disagree, and thus you will get pretty pictures. There's another hack that I did. The hack involves a new layout format, and this will be, I think, the last thing I have time to show you, calling it a tilt-shifted dot plot. In a normal dot plot, X and Y are both the absolute value inside of a file. So you get basically all your information streaming diagonally. Most of our image viewers aren't really optimized for diagonal image display. So what I created is a new thing called a tilt-shift dot plot. As you go down in the file, it's still, you're still advancing throughout the file. But if you go horizontal, it's actually just looking back. Now, this view is actually interesting for two things. First of all, it's streamable. It'll actually show you, you can stream data in. It'll go line by line as it's generated. And second, it's really compatible with existing viewers. So hang on a second. Let me pull up an image here. I think it's in my documents, actually. Yeah, it is. All right. So this is going to take a little while to load because it's like 260 meg PNG. What could possibly go wrong? All right. So this is shell32.dll. This thing is enormous. I have no idea what kind of crap they've thrown in here. But I actually know the guy. I should probably apologize to him for that. So I can actually scroll through this file, see all sorts of interesting internal structure. You say, oh yeah, this is messy, this is probably code, and hang on a second, and whoa, we're including some other crap. These patterns just show up. What do they? I don't necessarily know what they mean yet, but it is actually interesting to be able to see so much complexity inside of a file format, and at least be able to get some more meaningful representation of data than, say, hex dump, which is useless. So, in summary, Network neutrality is under threat, but I'm working on it. Check your SSL devices. Complain to your online banks if they have those really dumb forms. Don't drink Mickey's and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Stop expecting your users to do anything with hex. It's mostly useless. Fuzz your file formats, because we're breaking the crap out of everything, and I mean everything that isn't specifically tested against fuzzing. And take a look at. You might be surprised what you find. That's what I got. And I actually ended on time. Any questions? Go ahead.
Regards to visual organization stuff, I think you should just be wary of seeing patterns where they don't actually exist. I mean, obviously some of this stuff really does have patterns, but I think the first slide you showed was the kind of fuzzy color X stuff. Here's my basic standard, right? If it shows you a pattern out of definitely random, I throw that. So, I mean, that's the thing, right? If you know most code is actually pattern. Because, I mean, I look how quick software is. So, most software is very pattern data. So when things become interesting is, are we actually finding anything in bio we not? From what I know from the biologist, there is a fair amount of patterns, especially in genetic code.